beneficial as well. So welcome to the May Lunch and Learn. We've got a good treat for you all. We've been working with Adam kind of unofficially for the last 2 years, I think, Adam, and kind of officially over the last few months. And where Adam and I got connected originally was the Chamber continues to try and find new ways to obviously provide value to our members. Some of the things we're hearing as we're coming out of the pandemic, I'm not sure we're out of it yet, but as we were emerging the first time out of it, was around recruitment and retention of employees, and what became more and more apparent as many of our members were just trying to hold on to employees or find new ones, was to create diversified benefit packages for them, along with other things to keep employees. And so, we used to have healthcare because of legislation. We can't have that anymore, but we do have dental and vision. And Adam and I were talking originally and really thought that that there was actually this program called a MEAP, and I know Adam's going to talk about it a little bit more, but it's also a vehicle through this kind of group type concept, as we've seen with our other insurances and benefits, that might be worthwhile for Chamber members to check out. So we launched our Chamber retirement program with Adam and Merrill, Lynch and Lincoln, and Nick's on here from Lincoln Financial. Hi, Nick. So yeah, at this point, we thought it'd be good. We've already rolled it out to the members. I know Adam's been on the phone with probably a couple dozen at this point. And if the MEAP, it does, it needs certain structures. And if it doesn't work for your business, Adam's also very good and very proficient in saying, hey, simple IRA, or here's a great way to start to invest in your future. And I know he's got a whole presentation based on, just as business owners and kind of going into this world post-pandemic, what do we need to be prepared for? And we can't rely on the old institutions that used to pay for our retirement. So how do we prepare for the future? So I won't spoil too much of Adam's presentation, and I just want to introduce Adam and thank him for joining us today. Take it away, sir.
Thanks very much, Matt. Appreciate it. And thanks everybody for taking the time to join the call. Want to do a quick little brief background on me. I joined Merrill Lynch in 2003. Prior to that, I was a lawyer. I did securities and antitrust, and I was working in New York City. That was where my office was, and the pandemic hit, and we went to our house in Vermont to flatten the curve for 2 weeks, and I never left. So I think that's a very familiar story. We had always planned on sort of retiring or moving up to Vermont full time. We've been coming up here for the last 30 years, but fell in love with it when we spent time. So I think there's a lot of other people that are in similar situations moving up here full time. So as I said, I'm a lawyer by training. I'm also in the Navy Reserve, did a combat tour in Iraq in 2009, 2010. And after 17 years, I'm still serving 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year. Don't believe the hype, it's a little bit more than that. So what I'd like to do today is run through the following topics. What do retirement plans do? Why should a business have a retirement plan? What are the different types of plans? And what exactly does a MEAP do? And finally, is this offering a good fit for you or your business? So with that, that's sort of the rough outline. At any time, if you've got questions, feel free to throw a hand up or jump in and we'll go over it. So a brief little history. About 1935, they launched this thing called Social Security. It was a Social Security safety net. And at the time when it was launched, the benefits would accrue to somebody when they turn 65. But the average life expectancy of somebody born in 1930 was 58 years old. So in theory, you're going to get your benefits at 65, but in all likelihood, you're never going to get there. And things really haven't changed with Social Security in that regard, but now we're living into our 80s, if not 90s or beyond. So Social Security as a pension is not really going to be there, may not be there for younger folks at the same level, and for older folks, it's somewhat in question. And even the amounts that we're talking about aren't really enough to cover somebody in retirement. Supplement, yes. Cover, no. And in the 70s and 80s, you saw this, there used to be a thing called a pension. Everybody went to work at a large company. They were promised a pension. And when they retired, they were given this amount of money every year through their retirement. And pensions became very onerous to large corporations. And the way that the pension works is it's actually a promise to deliver a certain amount of money to somebody at their retirement for a certain number of years. That's a defined benefit program, because the program defines what the benefit that this person was going to receive. And then there came along a different type of plan called the defined contribution plan. And that was that the government, the IRS, Department of Labor, were going to set out a limit about how much somebody could contribute into the plan each year. And what happened to that money, whether it grew or whether it diminished in value, was really up to the individual who was managing the plan, or the individual whose plan it was. And they would either reap the rewards or suffer the consequences of their management of their assets. But at retirement, those assets were the individuals. And if that individual were to pass away, those assets would then roll or be left to their significant other or their children as a benefit. Everybody with me so far? Okay. So 1978, there was the advent of the 401k plan. And what the government, in my opinion, has been doing is slowly but surely shifting the onus away from Social Security, other pensions, to the individual to save for their own retirement. And as evidence of that, the limits that you're allowed to put into different plans has gone up and up and up and up. And it's been very, very beneficial for people to sock away a lot of money pre-tax into these retirement plans. But in practice, not that many people are doing it. They're not really finding the bandwidth of their incomes to put money away, unless they're particularly wealthy. So the onus has been shifted. The burden is now with all of us, but very few of us are heeding the call to save for retirement. There's always an alligator closer to the boat that needs to be dealt with. The business has different expenses that need to be covered, machinery breaks, what have you, and you've got to cover that first. If you watch any of the radio shows, Susie Orman, et cetera, what do they always say? Pay yourself first. And not enough people are listening to that advice. So with a retirement plan, what are some of the benefits of having one? There's obviously tax advantages for setting up a plan. I believe it was $1,500 tax credit. So it was $500 per year, but I believe it's up to $5,000. You can check with your tax advisor on that. But there's tax credits given to a business for putting together a plan in place. It provides, as Matt originally discussed, a great benefit for your employees. So when you're looking to hire, they're going to ask you, well, what are the benefit packages? If you say, well, we have a retirement plan, be it a 401k or any other vehicle, fantastic. And we'll talk a little bit about what that may entail. It could have a match, it could have a grant, it could have profit sharing. So those are all different options that your business can determine. So it also provides a great way to do tax mitigation. So a way that a retirement plan traditionally works is that you're taking money pre-tax and putting it into the plan. So let's say you make $50,000 in income and you put $10,000 into the plan. When you go to report your income, it's $40,000. That $10,000 is pre-tax, it's into this plan, and it will grow tax deferred, meaning if you make gains on it, you're not paying capital gains on that money. It's going to grow and grow and grow. Hopefully the markets are favorable over your lifetime to when you start to pull the money out. When you start to pull the money out after 59 and a half, you can do that without any penalty. That money comes out at your tax rate at that time. So the general thought is during your working years, you're going to be earning a lot more money your tax rate will be higher, but then when you get to retirement, you start to pull the money out, then you'll pay taxes at a lower rate. And that's the general, plan behind it. Within these retirement plans, the money has to start to come out. Now it's at 72. It used to be 70 and a half. You have to start to pull money out of the plans. Everybody with me so far? Good? Okay. So not only is it a benefit for different people to be offered, it also could, if you set up a profit sharing component, add a little bit of a retention vehicle or aspect to the plan. Meaning if you put in, an individual is going to get a profit sharing contribution from the company, that contribution going into the plan is on a vesting schedule, which means if you've got, maybe you're in sales and you've got a very good salesperson who's doing really well, but you're afraid that they might leave for a competitor. If you put some of the profit sharing into the plan, if they decide to move, they're going to be leaving money on the table. So that we've seen that in certain situations where, people train somebody up, they become a very good salesperson, and then they leave, and the business owner is like, oh geez, now I got to start all over again. So I'm going to go through a couple of different types of plans, and what I'm talking about, what the plan or the program that we have through the chamber is called a MEAP. It's a multiple employer aggregation program, or aggregated program. And what that's intended to do is with 401ks, you're getting the economies of scale of having a larger amount of assets behind the plan. But I'll get to that in a second. So many of us are familiar with an IRA, an individual retirement arrangement, and that has a $6,000 limit per year that somebody can put in. And if you're over 50, it's $7,000. So that money could be put in depending on your structure of your organization. As an individual, if you don't have a plan at work, you can put that money in, and depending on your income, it could be either pre-tax or it could be non-deductible. Then there's what's called a SEP, and that has a limit of up to 61,000. So for business owners, if you're just yourself, you can do it. Back in 1974, there's a law that came into place called ERISA, and that governs retirement plans. And what that plan was, or that law was focused on doing, was that there were business owners that were putting together retirement arrangements or retirement plans that were favoring the business owner, and they were doing next to nothing for the lower level employees. And ERISA said that's not fair. And if we're going to allow some sort of benefit for the owners, as an owner of business, you have to do something for your employees. And they set out the different standards about what that something would be. And so if you're going to do a SEP, if you're a single, solo practitioner, a SEP is fine. But if you do a SEP and you have employees, you're going to have to do something for your employees as well. And with a SEP, the more that you want to do for yourself means the more you're going to have to do for your employees. And that may or may not become cost prohibitive for business owners. So next after that is what's called a simple, and that has a different limit. That is 14,000 per year from an employee. So taking a step back here, as a business owner, you are both the employer and the employee. So you wear dual hats. But there's an employee deferral amount, which is up to 14,000. And then there's a provision that says if you're going to put this plan into place, the employer, which may be yourself, has to match either 3% of whatever their employees put in, or give them a 2% grant. All right. So if you've got 5 employees and you offer the match up to 3%, and your employees don't put anything in, you don't have to match anything. But you as the owner and employee can max out at 14,000 and get a 3% match. If you've got 5 employees and you think that they're all going to participate and want to put money in, it might be better to do a 2% grant. So you have to pay with a 2% grant, 2% of their salary into the plan. Going okay so far? Nick, am I missing anything? Okay, jump in if I am. Next is the 401k. The 401k has, again, two different hats. One is the employee can say, I want to defer X amount of my salary into the plan each year. And that limit has been going up. Right now, it's 20,500 is the maximum amount that an employee can defer from their salary into a 401k plan. If you're over 50, you can defer another 6,500. So that brings the total from the employee's perspective, $27,000 that they can put into the plan each year. Within a 401k, ERISA defines two different classes of people. There are what they consider to be highly comped employees, those making over 135,000, or the business owner. And the rule is that the business owner or a highly comped employee, without any other provisions, profit sharing or safe harbor, can only put in 2% more than what the average contribution of the lower comped employees. So if you start a 401k plan and you're the owner and nobody participates, which means zero as far as the employee average participation, the business owner can only do 2% more. So if you make $50,000 and nobody else puts anything in, the most you can put in is $1,500, which really doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not worth the aggravation to put the plan together. However, ERISA defines what's called the safe harbor, much like the simple. If you offer a 401k plan and you offer one of the following, a 3% grant of their salary into the plan, or a 4% match of whatever they put in, that frees up the plan for testing purposes, in the business owners or highly comp can put in this to the maximum amount, the maximum limit of the plan. So I know I'm throwing you a lot of numbers, but that's sort of the high level overview of it. The last aspect is a profit sharing plan. And that is if you do the other two, the 401k and the safe harbor, if you have extra money that you would like to pass on and compensate your employees with profit sharing, you can do that. And that upper limit of all of the various funds, from the employee contribution, the elective deferral, the employer match, and the profit sharing component, that total is 61,000 and 67,500 for those over 50. I know those are some big numbers, but there are some highly compensated people in the community that may reach those. So the next step is actually the resurgence of the pension. I talked about that a little while ago. And that's for very, very highly compensated business owners that are very, small. You'll see that in a lot of medicals or legal professions, or architectural firms, what have you, people that are making very good money and don't have a lot of employees. And those limits are upwards of 250,000 per year of deferral amount. But those are custom made for very small organizations. It's not like you're going to put a pension plan in place for a company with 100 personnel. So I've gone on a little bit. Any questions so far? Comments?
So, Adam, is the safe harbor is part of the 401k, or the safe harbor is a separate entity from the 401k?
It's pooled inside of the 401k. It's part of it in those funds. They're not segregated or kept apart.
Okay.
But it's part of the 401k. ERISA wants you to make sure that they're going to test the plan to make sure that it's not top heavy, meaning that the senior people aren't, crushing away, putting all sorts of money into the plan, and the lower comp aren't getting anything. So it's going to be bundled.
Okay.
Good question. Thanks, Kevin. So that being said, the MEAP and all those plans that I just described, the 401ks, the SEPs, the IRAs, any financial advisor can manage those. They can open those accounts for you, and they can help you sort of move the program forward. And that's not, limited to just Merrill in Manchester Center. That's to anybody can handle those. We can handle them, but What we're really talking about is the MEAP, and the MEAP is best suited for those plans that are already in existence, that are looking to maximize those kind of numbers that a 401k can do. 20,500 of employee deferral plus a match. So it could become, if the business is structured right, that's the ideal fit. There's also, I didn't mention, I'll come back to it, is if you're a solo practitioner, there is such a thing as a solo 401k. They call it a uni-K. And that's for either a solo practitioner or a husband wife that have a business. And that's very efficient as well, very cost effective, and very high limits with very low cost for maintenance. So the MEAP that we've partnered with Lincoln Financial with is for people that have larger plans already in place, that are looking to see if they can gain some efficiencies in the economies of scale. When a 401k on its own is started, a lot of the pricing is based on the amount of assets that are in the plan. And as those assets grow in the plan, it becomes more cost effective for the business owner, it becomes cheaper. And it's a factor of average participant balance is something that's going to come into play. Within a 401k, there tends to be an advisor, which would be myself, and there'll be what's called a third-party administrator that handles the record keeping side of the house for the interface between your payroll provider and your tax advisor, and getting the money into the account and managed. At Merrill, I deal with the investment side of the house. The TPA would deal with the managing of the flows and making sure that the recording of who's getting what income withdrawn, et cetera, is dealt with the TPA. All right. So when you start to get into a MEAP, there's economies of scale of having better asset class for your investments because you're pooled with the larger organization writ large. So if you're just starting off on a plan, your pricing would be different on your own than it would be, say, with a MEAP. That's the high level view of the deferral side. So within the MEAP and within Merrill, we also take over fiduciary responsibilities for management of the plan. As the business owner on a financial or on a retirement plan, you are going to be the fiduciary. You're the trustee. You're the person in charge. But you have the right and obligation to, as the fiduciary, to either find competent people to employ. And in this case, you can designate me as saying, we're hiring Merrill to be the fiduciary on this account. And we're going to monitor to make sure that Merrill is competent. But in most part, Merrill will take on the fiduciary responsibilities for managing the plan. Nick, you want to chime in on anything there?
No, that's perfect. Yeah, it's probably the easiest plan that we have out there because it incorporates everything in one spot. And a lot of times the companies that are doing 401k plans, the things that they don't like are all the stuff they have to do. So the nice thing about a MEAP, which it stands for Multiple Employer Aggregation Program, is it handles all of those things. And we also have payroll integration with Paychex, ADP, Paylocity, and Paycor. So the payroll part also is very easy. It's a button. There's really nothing that they need to do as well. So that's what we're trying to do, is just help the businesses focus on their business and not have to worry about the retirement plan side. So yeah, you did a good job.
All right,
Nick,
I'm going to share my screen real quick. Catherine, did you have a question?
I was just going to ask Nick if they are working or will be working with Pay Data, which just got bought by Assure.
Yeah, we work with all payroll companies,
You do?
even
Okay.
local. Yeah. So what we do is on our welcome calls, when we have a plan that comes in, our integration team asks for someone from the payroll department of that company to also be on that call. So they let us know who they're using for payroll. Then we try to get that person or a contact from that company on the phone.
Okay.
And then we send them the data sheets and the information that we need to fill out. If we don't have that 360 payroll integration, we still deal with all those folks, nationwide. So it's pretty easy for us.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question, or are you going to show us something on your
No,
screen?
go ahead. I've got something to show, but go ahead, Andrew.
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for this presentation. This really helps. I want to learn more about investing, and I'm kind of coming into the game a little late, but I feel like it's better late than never. I'm wondering, I have a 401k from, a while back, and there's not a lot in there, but I'm wondering, is it simple and possible to roll money from another company into something that a product you have as a solopreneur? And when you do that, are there like tax penalties or any kind of penalties when you take money from another place and bring it to your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's two ways you can do it. You can roll the assets. You can leave them where they are. You can roll them into an individual plan for yourself, an IRA, or you can roll them into your new business plan if you're going to set one up. And imagine you have a chest of drawers in your bedroom, and you pull out one drawer and you've got a bunch of socks, and you pull out another one. You're just moving from one drawer to another. There's no tax consequences for that. It will maintain its tax deferred status. You don't want to be in a position where you take them out, you throw them on the bed for half a year, then you try to throw them back in it. That will ruin it. There's a time constraint. That's a good question.
Okay, no, that's really great. And so essentially, if I were to do that with your company, do I just give you all the information, or do I have to do a lot of the taking it from the other company and making sure that happens, or is that?
No, that's a great question. It should be very, very simple. And this goes to the broader question of, let's say you decide to offer a plan within your business, and you've got employees out there that are in a similar situation to you. If you read one of your copies of your statement, there'll be a service number that you can call. And we're happy to get on the phone with you or any of your employees to call them up and say, you get on a recorded line. Hi, my name is, Tammy Smith, and I'd like to roll my assets from this plan to this plan, and they'll do it. And I'll be on the phone with you, and we can, walk you through. And very simple. Sometimes they can have you sign a document and send it back. Otherwise, they'll just take a verbal, and then with a few hours, they're processing the liquidation. They send out a check within a week, and you're done.
Oh, wow, that's pretty. And so I'm like a solopreneur. I have an LLC, but I don't have any employees. So hopefully it'll be a little easier. But do your products allow, whatever that looks like, IRA, whatever that looks like, allow myself as the business owner to essentially you're managing it, but am I able to look at it and see and make changes, or is that not?
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
sorry about these very elementary questions.
No, they're not. They're good
Okay.
questions. And Nick can probably talk a little bit more. In your case, it's probably not going to be a 401k on the MEAP platform, but if all of the platforms that we have at Merrill have online access, and that's very simple. But that's a good segue for Nick at Lincoln. They have a very robust website platform that you can log into through the MEAP, and you'd be able to see all of your investments. You can change your allocation. You can change the amount that you're deferring in your payroll. You can change your investment direction or choices. So there's a lot of flexibility, and it's very slick and very user friendly.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm just going to share thanks, Andrew, for that question. I'm going to share my screen real quick. If you can see this, this is a very detailed list of all the responsibilities that a 401k trustee would have, as far as the plan sponsor, operational, administrative, etc. And we can send out a copy of this this document to everybody that was on the call. But if we go to the next page here, if we have a MEAP in place, it's very, very simple. We're going to basically take on a lot of those responsibilities. And what we would do is, during our semi-annual or annual review of the platform in the program, be able to help bring you up to speed on where we are and make sure that everything is in compliance. It's a good time for everybody to do a little check on then everybody's you're doing your fiduciary duty to make sure that the fiduciaries are doing their duty. So that's the a quick rundown from a high level. So there's maintenance of the plan is also very important within the MEAP program. Every 401k that's in existence now should be reviewed at least on a yearly basis. And that review that they conduct should involve a complete review of all the administrative hurdles that are supposed to be done, a review of all the investment options to make sure that they're up to snuff, and review of the investment policy statement. And at Merrill, we would deliver a very detailed recap of the health and vitality of the plan. That's very important for business owners, because when they get that, they print it up or they save it into a file and they have it. And God forbid the Department of Labor ever come knocking on the door saying, hey, we're interested in checking out your plan to make sure you're in compliance. Do you have an investment policy statement? Do you have notes from your 401k committee meeting? Have you reviewed and done educational presentations with your employees? And I'd say a lot of times when you start to talk about that with a business owner that has a 401k, they're going to look at you like you got a couple screws loose. I don't know what you're talking about. I set this plan up 15 years ago and I thought that my advisor had it. And it's not, it doesn't work out that way. It's not a great look to say that to the Department of Labor when they come knocking. So by having us involved and taking on fiduciary responsibilities, we're going to make sure that we've got your back covered when it comes to that. Another aspect it's important to note when people have plans, oftentimes they'll have a very large number of former employees that are still within the plan. That's somewhat of a red flag. A lot of times those former employees may or may not have left your employment under the most favorable terms. So the last place that you want to have somebody angry at you is coming back saying, well, the markets are down 20%, my 401k is down, and I don't think it's being properly run. And hate to see it, but it does happen. And the fiduciary or the trustee of the plan is on the hook for that. And they didn't even know that they were. So we take care of making sure that things like that wouldn't happen. That the plan is up to snuff, it's meeting all its compliance and ERISA regulations, it's well diversified, and it quickly stops that problem from happening. All right, so I've gone about 36 minutes or so. That's the high level side of it. Nick, anything that I should touch on that I haven't?
No, I think you covered them all.
Okay. Matt, how about you? Anything else that you want to sort of have me cover?
No, I mean, I think one of the things that was startling to me when you and I were talking about was, yes, on the positive end, it's you doing a lot of the paperwork through the MEAP, but on the back end, how much on the hook business owners are, as you had mentioned, if they were audited or anything like that. So to me, that was also one of those things where, through at least the MEAP program, you guys are on the hook. And I think a lot of the business owners, including those on this call, would rather have you on the hook than us on the hook. So that was always kind of a spotlight for me on the program.
Yeah, I think that it's very, very important for people to do a review and get a second opinion. For me to come in and look at the plan and say, and I've done it before. I've come in, I've looked at a plan. I said, you know what, you're right. You've got a very good plan in place. It's very well priced. You're doing everything that you're supposed to do. And I'd give a written report saying I benchmarked it against, with a third party that's independent. It says your plan is top notch. Throw that in the file and you're good to go. But if it's not, it's an easy review, and maybe we can find some ways to make it more cost effective, more efficient, and work better for everybody. And I'll end on saying that while the MEAP may not be the perfect fit for your business right now, it will be something that you can potentially grow into as the business grows. And, doesn't mean that you can't start with a different program and over time grow into something more robust and more beneficial for everybody at lower costs. All right, so that's the overall presentation. I would be more than welcome to take individual calls, one-offs, discuss situations on how to improve what you're doing, out of the box questions, and we'll see what we can do to help you plan and save for retirement. It's as Andrea, you said, there's many people are in the same boat. They're starting late, but it's better to start late than never to start at all, and get it done.
The one thing I was going to add, Adam, to kind of punch it home, and I think, we're probably preaching to the choir here because they hopped on the call, but, for those that watch the recording later,
Sure.
The conversation, the dramatic conversation you and I had the other day was around this idea that the system, the American system, the working system that has been set up since at least the 30s, it doesn't work anymore. And it really is the onus is on the employee, the individual, the business owner, as opposed to a pension plan. As we know, those, there's very few left, obviously very little in the Social Security. For us millennials on the call, Adam's going to get the last little bit of that Social Security, and then we're going to have to fend for ourselves. So, just between, what my wife and I have been working on is really building up that war chest, kind of realizing that everything's only going to go up, as we've seen in the last 6 months. It's going to continue over our lifetime to go up, and creating a plan that really puts us in the driver's seat. So I would encourage that. And then the last thing, just as we talk about chamber benefits, and Catherine, you're on, and Andrea and others, I've challenged this with some of the other members on calls like this. If you see other avenues that we can explore, where by the collective of being in a membership organization where we can subsidize things because of our size, that was the original idea behind healthcare, which is, if you don't belong to a big corporation, you wouldn't have a great healthcare plan. Well, back in the day, chambers mobilized their memberships together to create a different pool and combine those little small businesses together to create a bigger pool to get a better pricing on healthcare. Not promising that we'll be able to do that, but things like this, when the MEAP popped up, I hopped at the chance because I said, this sounds similar. This is another benefit. If there are other areas, you talked to me offline where you said, hey, a 2-for-1 pizza deal would really help me on Fridays with my staff. Let's partner together to do that. Or if you said life insurance is another area, or retirement became another area, dental, vision, childcare. When we look at some of these big buckets of needs that our business owners and employees need, if you find other ways where size matters, or collectively coming together under one umbrella to do something that maybe larger organizations already do, shoot me an email. Erica on the call too. We're always interested. We're always looking at our benefits page and just trying to strengthen that any which way we can. So I open that up to everybody on the call too.
I just wanted to say one quick thing, or I guess ask. And I know this is this could be a big discussion, but with the recession coming up, potential recession, I'm hearing more that well, we don't know that we've really had a recession until we're kind of out of it, right? But that it's looking like it's going to be a mini-ish one, not as bad as the one we had in 2008. Do you have thoughts on how that is going to, I still want to be saving for retirement. Do you think with the talks of a mini recession that won't affect things as badly as other recessions in the past? Do you have any thoughts about that, or is that too big of a discussion for right now?
It's a little bit outside of it, but I'm happy to do a one-off on it. But I would say this, a recession is considered to be 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. And it looks like we're headed that way, but the question is how long does it last and how deep is it? Is it mild or is it short? I think you have to take a look, from the investment side of the equation. If there's a theory, dollar cost averaging, you're always adding small little amounts. So if the markets are falling, you're going to be adding to it. Within the investment choices that you have, you can choose everything from aggressive equities that are all in growth, or you can choose, stable value, which is money market or treasuries or tips and things like that. So you have the ability within your retirement account to get conservative or get more aggressive depending on the macroeconomic sort of landscape that you're working with. But I would say this, the most important thing, from my opinion, is the tax mitigation aspect of a plan. If you're in the 25% tax bracket, by putting $100 in there, you just saved 25% by not paying tax. So your rate of return right there from day one is 25%. So whether that money grows exponentially or at a slow rate, you're still ahead in that year.
Great, thank you so much. It helps.
The other thing to add is for people when they're saying, well, I can't afford it. And a 401k or any retirement plan, when it's coming out of your payroll, is for savings. And if you're making $30,000 a year, you're just going to get by. If you're making 50, just going to get by, because it's 100, you're just going to get by. 400,000, you're just going to get by, because what you see in your bank account is what you draw, and you're going to spend it. You're going to spend right to the limit, and that's fine. But when you start to pull that money out of the account before it even hits, you're just going to get by, and you can do it. And it's amazing how quickly people can save when the money's being pulled out of their paycheck each month into an account, and it doesn't impact them. So it's dramatic when you actually see it in practice. It's wonderful, actually, because people are so surprised at the end of the year. It's like, wow, I saved a lot of money. It's really cool.
And Adam, you don't pay gains when you just pay your tax rate when you withdraw out of your IRA, correct? Or do you pay gains and taxes?
No, you just pay your tax rate.
Taxes. So that's a big thing too, Andrea, because if you bought something for $100 30 years ago and now it's worth $1,000, you don't pay the taxes on the $900 that you made, which you can talk to Adam. Has been brutal for me in the last few years, right? Yeah. So like the not having gains is huge.
Right.
I have a lot to learn, but this really helps. I know a little bit, but it's just like, sometimes it's intimidating, to be honest with you, when you're trying to run your business and you're trying to do a lot of stuff, but it's very intriguing, and it's something that I do want to learn more about. This is really, really wonderful that you're having this for Lunch and Learn. Thanks, everybody.
More than happy to take a call and go in depth on any topic you want to talk about. Okay. When it relates to finances and retirement plans.
Let me put a plug in here for Adam. And if you know of other organizations that weren't able to hop on this call, but you think that this would be beneficial, and this is a great community of members, and the ones on this call are, I know, chamber champions. So for all of us, it's about being stronger together in this Southwestern Valley of Vermont and working together. So, if you have friends in other locations, I would encourage you, as I do too. We were just talking about J.K. Adams and R.K. Miles. This might be the right program for them, and might, help bolster up their, both their financial security, but also getting more employees in their doors too. So if you're around and think of this program, feel free to reach out to me or Erica, or obviously Adam and Nick as well. So thank you very much, Adam.
Thank you, guys. It was wonderful. Great questions. Appreciate it. And I'm always available.
Great. So as we close out, just a reminder to people, and I think Erica, you're still on this call as well. We do have ribbon cutting next week at the Chamber of Commerce. We're actually ribbon cutting ourselves, but we have a memorial park that was built a few years back in the middle, right before COVID. We couldn't do a ribbon cutting for that memorial park. Great little place to sit and have lunch or have a cup of coffee. Picnic tables are out on the yard as well. So we'll be doing that this Wednesday coming up. And then entering into our Memorial Day weekend, the Chamber runs the State of Stay program through the state of Vermont. We're one of like 8 locations. We haven't done a State of Stay weekend in 2 to 3 years with the pandemic, but basically we have invited people from around the country to try out Vermont for a weekend. And then we'll kind of cater and curate an experience for them here. So Friday is chock full of meet and greets and coffees and conversations, but really for the members on the call, we'll be doing a mixer with our members as well as the State of Stay people. And we have about 8 to 10 families signed up already to go through the program next weekend. But on Friday night, we'll be at Lake Perrin, and Lake Perrin will roll out good, fresh food, and we'll have a cash bar there as well. And we'll be able to watch the sunset with some of these new people that are trying out Vermont and Southern Vermont for the first time, and really exciting. There's always a really fun weekend because you meet people from Colorado and Texas and Florida, and they just, it's re-energizing to hear their kind of take on Vermont, kind of this mystical state up there in the Northeast. So very excited for that. You can go to our website, there's information on it. And I know Erica will also be pushing out an email if she hasn't already around signing up for both next week's ribbon cutting on Wednesday and the Friday night sunset mixer at Lake Perrin. Erica, anything else that I'm forgetting?
No, and I just want to apologize to you for our members on the call. You have been inundated from me in the last 4 or 5 days with emails. So yes, you'll be getting another update on that. I also sent out a final call for ads in our 2022-2023 Shire's travel guide. If you are interested in putting in an ad, we are coming down to the deadline. So I encourage you to get that paperwork into me and reserve your spot today.
Great. Well, we'll get everybody back to their regular scheduled week, and we really appreciate Merrill Lynch and the Lincoln Financial Group and Adam and Nick for taking time out of their busy week for educating us and really hopping on this lunch and learn for everybody. Hope you have a good rest of the week, and see you next week, hopefully. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.